Achilles, the greatest warrior who ever lived, came into the world with divine blood flowing through his veins and a destiny written in starlight before his first breath. Blessed with strength that could shatter bronze shields like pottery, yet cursed with a single point of vulnerability that would doom him to an early grave. The son of a sea goddess whose rage could shake the very foundations of Troy, whose battle cry sent entire armies fleeing in terror. And yet for all his godlike power, he remained a prisoner to fate's unbreakable chains, unable to escape the tragic end that awaited him on the blood-soaked plains of Troy. Was Achilles truly the unstoppable force of legend, or was his story doomed from the moment the fates spun his thread? The answer lies buried beneath layers of glory and divine intervention in a tale where the pursuit of eternal fame demands the ultimate price. Welcome to the ancient underworld, where gods fall, monsters rise, and devils whisper through the shadows of forgotten myths. If you enjoy exploring the dark side of mythology, like this video, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another forgotten tale. In ancient times, when gods and mortals shared the same earth, there lived a sea goddess whose beauty outshone the stars themselves. Thetis possessed such radiance that Zeus, the king of gods, and Poseidon, lord of the seas, both sought her hand in marriage. However, prophecy whispered a terrifying truth. Any son born to Thetis would surpass his father in power, threatening to topple the very order of Olympus. The trembling gods bound the divine Thetis to a mortal king, Peleus of the Myrmidons, remembering how Zeus had overthrown his own father. From this union of immortal essence and human flesh emerged a child destined to bridge two worlds, yet belong fully to neither. Nevertheless, how far would a desperate mother go to defy fate itself? Thetis, consumed by desperate love, carried her newborn son to the river Styx, where waters that bound even gods to their oaths flowed black as the void. Grasping the infant by his heel, she plunged Achilles into the sacred stream, rendering his flesh invulnerable. All save that single point where her fingers held him, that one spot of pure humanity that would seal his fate. Under Chiron's wise tutelage, the child grew on Mount Pelion, learning the deadly arts of war and the gentle crafts of healing. Swift as the wind with his spear, graceful as a dancer with his sword, yet always shadowed by prophecy's weight. But here's the twist that would define his entire existence. Two paths stretched before him, each as immutable as the will of the fates themselves. Live a long life filled with peaceful obscurity, dying old and forgotten in his father's halls. Or choose a brief existence, blazing with such glory that poets would sing his name until the world's end. For Achilles, son of a goddess, heir to divine ambition, the choice was never truly a choice at all. Glory called to him, and he answered with his whole being, knowing the price but unable to resist destiny's pull. When the black ships of Greece gathered on the wine-dark sea, Achilles stood among the heroes as a lion stands among wolves. The Trojan War had begun, sparked by Helen's stolen beauty, but for Achilles, this conflict represented far more than the rescue of a wayward queen. This was the arena where his choice would be written in blood and bronze, where he would claim his place among the immortal heroes. For 9 long years, the beaches of Troy witnessed his unmatched dominance in battle. No champion could stand before his bronze-tipped spear. No wall could contain his divine fury. Lycaon fell pierced through the heart. Asteropios crumpled beneath his chariot wheels. Countless Trojans met their doom as Achilles carved his legend with each fallen foe. As a result, his very name became a prayer on Greek lips and a curse whispered in Trojan halls. Yet pride, that the fatal companion of all great heroes, would wound him deeper than any sword. When Agamemnon, drunk on royal arrogance, demanded Briseis, the Trojan priestess who had been taken as spoils of war, something fundamental shattered within the hero's soul. Here was dishonor more cutting than any blade humiliation that struck at the very core of his divine nature. The greatest warrior's abandonment would prove catastrophic. Therefore, Achilles withdrew from battle, taking with him not just his sword, but the very spirit of the Greek forces. Without their champion, the Greeks crumbled before winter's wind. Meanwhile, Hector, noble prince of Troy, pressed his advantage with methodical precision, driving the invaders back to their ships, setting their vessels ablaze beneath the uncaring stars. Then came the moment that would change everything. Patroclus, dearest friend and truest companion, could no longer bear watching his brothers die. Clad in Achilles' own armor, bearing his shield and spear, Patroclus led the Myrmidons back into the fray. For one shining moment, the Trojans reeled, believing their greatest enemy had returned to claim his vengeance. But here's the twist. Divine armor could not grant divine skill. Hector, guided by Apollo's invisible hand, struck down the disguised hero with a spear thrust that pierced both bronze and heart. As Patroclus fell, his life bleeding out onto foreign soil, something died within Achilles that no amount of victory could ever restore. The rage that followed transcended mortal fury, becoming a force of nature, terrible and beautiful in its absolute devastation. When Achilles returned to battle, he moved death itself, given form, seeking vengeance for his fallen friend. Hector, Troy's greatest defender, fell before him in single combat that made the gods themselves pause to witness. Even so, as the Trojan prince breathed his last, Achilles found no peace, only the hollow echo of loss that no amount of blood could fill. If you're captivated by these tales of divine wrath and mortal consequences, hit that like button, subscribe to Ancient Underworld, and ring the notification bell so you never miss the dark truths hiding within mythology's greatest legends. Victory tasted of ashes and broken promises. Hector lay dead, his body dragged thrice around Troy's mighty walls until even divine rage was spent. Achilles had achieved everything a warrior could desire: glory beyond measure, victory, complete knowledge that his name would echo through eternity. Nevertheless, fate, patient as stone and inevitable as sunrise, waited for its appointed hour. Apollo, the far shooter, had watched the war unfold with eyes that saw all things. The god had loved mortals who now lay slain by Achilles' spear: Hector, the noble Troilus, the young prince, countless others whose blood cried out for justice from the shadowed underworld. How the gods played a role in his end would soon become clear. When Paris drew his bowstring, it was Apollo's divine hand that guided the shaft. With Apollo's help, Paris had achieved what no warrior could accomplish in open combat. The legend of Achilles' heel held a darker truth. That single point of mortality welcomed the bronze point turning in fate's lock. Consequently, divine blood turned to poison in his veins, and the greatest warrior who ever drew breath felt his strength drain away. As he fell dying, Achilles gazed toward Olympus. Was it always written in the stars? Had every choice of every righteous rage been nothing more than a performance for immortal amusement? Therefore, the arrow that killed Achilles ended an age. In that death, mortals learned the ultimate truth that no amount of divine heritage could overcome the simple fact that to be human is to be mortal. Even the son of a goddess must bow before fate's judgment. When the flames of Achilles' funeral pyre died, something profound had shifted in the world. His death marked not just the end of a warrior, but the closing of an age when heroes could challenge fate itself, and when the line between mortal and divine seemed as thin as a gossamer thread. Achilles stands as the eternal symbol of human strength colliding with divine limits. The heel that proved his downfall became the eternal symbol of human vulnerability. That one point where mortality can reach us despite our greatest strengths. Yet death was a transformation rather than a defeat for Achilles. In choosing glory over longevity, he had won something far more precious than mere life: the concept of kleos, eternal glory that would outlive bronze and stone. Furthermore, every retelling of his story, every whisper of his name, became a small victory over the grave's silence, ensuring his immortality through memory and song. Beyond simple heroism, Achilles represents something profound. He embodies the eternal human struggle between glory and mortality, between the desire for significance and the reality of finite existence. His rage, his pride, and his vulnerability made his greatness meaningful. His legacy endures because it speaks to the choice we all must face: to live safely in comfortable shadows or step into destiny's burning light. Achilles chose the fire and lit a flame that burns as long as humans dream of glory and wrestle with their own mortality. Fate did not defeat Achilles, it fulfilled him. For what is a hero without a tragic end? What is glory without the knowledge that it comes at an ultimate cost? The warrior who could not escape fate discovered that destiny was never his enemy, but the very force that transformed his brief life into a legend. Was Achilles a hero to be admired, or a warning about the price of divine ambition? Did he triumph by achieving eternal fame, or lose by sacrificing everything mortal and precious for the approval of flawed gods? We all face our own version of Achilles' choice, the moment when we must decide between safety and significance, between the comfortable shadow and the burning light of purpose. Drop a comment below which hero of myth and legend should we explore next, and if this tale of divine blood and mortal doom moves you, subscribe for more stories from the realm where gods and heroes dance on the edge of eternity. We all have our heels. The question remains, what will we do with the rest?